Listen. You ever go to a theater as a full-grown person, and the mom sitting in front of you turns around really wanting to ask why you're at a kid's movie without a kid, and asks, "Excuse me, but is this Frozen?" And while what you really want to say is, "No ma'am, this is a theater," you just nod your head, as her kid annoys her throughout the entire feature. But you see, whether you've had a child in the last 6 years or not, so many people have had their Spotify Frozen on Let It Go. It broke records. It won the Oscar. Parents I knew who were adamantly against Disney had tickets to go see Frozen. On ice. This movie caused an Elsa gate that almost ruined YouTube, and right when you thought they were about to let it go, it's back again. Let me explain. So I do want to break down my thoughts for both, so in case you haven't seen them, obvious spoiler warning, obviously, but I want to start with the origins of Frozen. When it comes to the first, I actually think it's a very cute story because it took that tired trope of true love's kiss and made it a story about the bond between two sisters and how their sibling love for each other breaks that curse. And that sibling story was massive. Like, I had Brother Bear growing up, but all of the sister movies were on Disney Channel, not really in theaters, so it's no wonder this one caused an avalanche. It's inspired by a fairy tale from Hans Christian Andersen titled The Snow Queen, which came out in the 1800s, and it wasn't until 2013 that it saw the screen because they could finally animate down to their fingertips.
This could represent your camera.
Exactly.
And then we could be standing within the forest that you have built on a computer, a CGI forest. And then you can go round the forest with the camera.
Just like you can with a real-life camera, we can do it digitally. So what we're going to do now is going to give you a little bit of a head-on collision.
Oh, yeah, he's coming straight past the camera now.
Yeah, see if you can follow them as they pass you with the camera.
They then got the director of Tarzan and Surf's Up to helm this one, the Lopez's, which, side note, I legit thought Elsa was a prima when I searched her up, but obviously the Lopez's, they're just oozing with musical talents. And then Jennifer Lee, who previously fixed up Wreck-It Ralph, joined to help on the script for Frozen.
And Jen Lee, who wrote the movie and co-directed it, she journaled as the characters for months before she found the story. She would sit down as a writer. Part of her process is she would journal as Elsa. What's Elsa doing today? What's on her mind? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It's phenomenal. What's Anna doing today? What's on her mind? To try to figure out a story that had value and substance that wasn't just episode 2.
Jennifer Lee would then go on to become co-director and then replace a dude named John Lasseter, who, was just the chief creative officer at Walt Disney Animated Studios. But when you listen to the different drafts that they had for the story, how it went from Elsa being a villain to a hero, from every Disney movie not starting as a musical, and then them realizing we're Disney, it should be a musical, but it was a creative space between the cast and the filmmakers that sparked the magic that is the movie.
The character of Anna was just seemingly much more standard of a Disney princess, and she, in my mind, was a little more finicky and a little more uptight, and I read it, and I was caught in this place of being very grateful for having this job, and also knowing that I should say what my instincts were, and thankfully, Chris Buck and Jen Lee were so collaborative. I said, listen, I really want to play me. I want to play who I needed to see when I was a little girl. I want someone who's goofy and who's weird and doesn't fit a mold and who leads with her heart and who has a ton of naivete and a little bit of smarts, but she hides it because she doesn't know how to use it and just fiercely believes in everyone around her and in goodness and in kindness and stumbles over her words. And we found that in the first script really well because Jen would write a scene and then let us sort of improv throughout it and say, what do you think Anna would? And I'd go, oh, I think she would. And she'd just say, go. And that's where the whole, wait, what came? Because I say that a lot.
This is awkward. Not you're awkward, but just because I'm awkward. You're gorgeous. Wait, what?
She's who I wanted, she's who I saw myself being when I was 10 years old. And probably who I've become, because I trip a lot as well.
And that would be the basis of this sisterly story of fire and ice until Elsa finally chills. Obviously, with the success of the first one, you knew they were going to get a sequel, but they also amped up their foreign markets. maybe a little too well. They got Priyanka Chopra Jonas to voice the Hindi version of Elsa. They got the girl who played Anna on Broadway voicing young Elsa in the sequel. And they even Elizabeth Warrened Elsa. At this point, Elsa's queen, but she keeps hearing voices that she can't let go. Anna, who really should be running the kingdom, has to babysit Kristoff, who continues to speak moose to his reindeer. And Olaf is officially a psychopath.
They actually went to meet with a psychologist and had a bunch of questions from the perspective of Anna, Elsa, Kristoff, and Olaf, that they basically asked these questions. What they learned about Olaf was that he's psychotic. Literally, the questionnaire came back that character's a psychopath.
Elsa decides to follow that Usher hum that keeps her up at night, and it leads them to this enchanted forest where they discover 2 tribes that have been frozen in time. Put it simply, decades ago, their grandpa decided to make a treaty with the indigenous people up north, known as the North Thaldra, who he decides to treat as wildlings since he fears the mystical powers they have up there within their forest, not realizing that his fear is the true weapon hurting Arendelle. In other words, Grandpa was worried about magic when he was the one pulling tricks. He builds a dam which disrupts the environmental nature of their enchanted forest. He causes a war, gets himself killed, traps the remaining tribes in a time bubble, but hey, his son finally got a girl. Elsa finds out through her detective mode that her mother, when she was younger, actually saved her father during that war, and so the spirits gift her mom by having her go from a co-director voicing her in the first to finally getting a name and a voice in the second. Just kidding, the gift was actually a power given to her firstborn, which, didn't ruin her childhood at all. Obviously, since their parents died in the first, they didn't know that their mother was a native, but neither did anyone else in the first, so hey, Elsa's now a POC. Since the 2 tribes have been trapped in the enchanted forest, Olaf, no lie, decides to give them the LME.
It began with 2 sisters. One born with magical powers, one born powerless. Well, at least they have their parents. Their parents are dead.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I love Sterling K. Brown as the lieutenant. The North Aldra, in general, brings up interesting themes, even if they reminded me of the other some people from Tangled. And considering that the director also helped on Pocahontas, I knew I wasn't tripping like Anna when it came to the colors, the wind, hell, the story a little bit. In order for Elsa to reverse her ancestors' wrongs, she has to interact with each of the 4 air elements, thinking that there's a 5th element as well. There's Bruni, the fire one that reminded me of Spiral and Pascal from Tangled. The Earth Giants from Noah that represented the Earth. Gale, the gust of wind that eventually becomes their UPS, blowing letters from one kingdom to another. And Nook, who was the water spirit horse who's gonna make for a very interesting Funko Pop. Obviously, with it being Frozen, I kind of got to talk about the music, and these 3 would have been the ones that stood out to me in the sequel. I personally think the character of Kristoff is a complete and utter goof. Listen, this man at the end of the first one, after seeing how grueling of an experience it was to transport ice in the past, is made Arendelle's designated ice cube delivery driver by the Queen, whose literal power is to freeze things.
Queen's orders. She's named you the official Arendelle Ice Master and Deliverer.
What? That's not a thing.
Oh, sure it is.
He gets this Air Supply type song with the reindeer that could have fit in these ads.
Monster Ballads. 35 powerful hits on 2 CDs.
And you know that every mom who still has that REO Speedwagon shirt in their closets gonna be bumping this one during the holidays. Into the Unknown is the new Let It Go, and I'm just gonna let the creatives who made it explain it.
Into the Unknown is more interesting because there's been a voice calling her, and she's been resisting it because change is hard, change is scary, but there's a voice that only she can hear, and hopefully that voice resonates with anyone who feels like they haven't found their purpose, but their purpose is calling them.
Does it have higher notes than Let It Go?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
This is the note. It's E flat, and it's the same as the high note for Let It Go. The voice sings higher notes, the soprano voice that she's chasing, but.
It's the same notes, but it feels higher because what we're doing with music is Into the Unknown is an octave. That's your safe boundary. Into the Unknown is sticking your toe over the boundary. And then Into the Unknown
That's an
is
11th.
Basically just jumping out into the enchanted forest, into the place of growth and transformation.
Genius. Olaf's I'm Fine song is like a hymn in the dark. I'm not saying that he's this generation's donkey, but Gad has been getting away with some lines.
And for me, the joy of Olaf is I get to play so much in the booth. So in the first film, I remember doing this thing in the booth where I said, "Oh, look, I've been impaled," as a joke. And then the next thing I knew, I watched the movie and they spent millions of dollars animating that and having Olaf impaled.
Oh, look at that. I've been impaled.
And so I just literally started improvising all of these insane things, daring them to put them in the movie, and they put them in the movie.
What's one thing we can look for that you improvised?
Samantha.
Elsa. Sven. Samantha. I don't even know it's Samantha.
But sadly, Olaf dies. The water has memory, so I guess he's aight. Elsa continues to follow that fifth element she's hearing. She dies too, but, then she doesn't. And with the help of Anna, the true leader of Arendelle, they break the dam. Everyone comes back. Elsa walks on ice like it's Breath of the Wild, deflects this massive tide without even an inch of water rising beyond the surface, and saves the day, realizing that she was the fifth element she was looking for all along. Girl, you ain't no Lilo.
Into the end.
Overall, it's not better than the first in my opinion, but it's still a cute movie. It's got cute songs, and it teaches us the lesson that no matter what, at the end of the day, Tangled is still better. Thank you guys for checking out this video, and I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Maybe you like this movie as much as Dag Shepard does?
You're promoting Frozen 2 because your wife is in it.
And I own half of everything she owns.
But I'm curious to know your thoughts, especially if you saw it on Thanksgiving weekend, because it definitely is geared around Thanksgiving. Like, they play family games and a lot of the stuff that's happening within the movie. They even pulled an Avatar move, because now they know, don't release your movie on Thanksgiving, release it the week before Thanksgiving, and then you start making bank. They outsold Toy Story, Incredibles, pretty much all of Disney's animations, including the new Lion King, and it's massive, I do like the cast. If you haven't seen any of their interviews, definitely go check them out, especially this video right here, where they were headbanging to Let It Go at a gay bar. I would also say the Broadway musical, I don't know where it's playing specifically, but I do think that the behind the scenes that they do for the reindeer is super intriguing. But if I were to add one more piece of the franchise, I would say, give them a video game, but make it on the parents' adventure when they were younger, when they were at sea. I would want to play that one over, Olaf avalanching himself down. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know your favorite Disney movie of this year. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and you'll help find Samantha.